Hey, welcome into Sports Extra. We're 2 days removed from the Falcons' first preseason game, less than 3 weeks until college football. And hey, the Braves are back on top. I'm Wes Blankenship on the panel tonight. The Sports X's Mark Zinno, find him on the A to Z show. Former NFL and UGA offensive tackle George Foster, and the Athletics' Jason Butt making his Sports Extra debut. Welcome, gentlemen. Well, the Jets shut out the Falcons 17-0 on Friday. The Falcons, a team that really needs to be putting points up on the board, but it is just a meaningless preseason game, right? Matt Ryan in just for a 3-and-out. Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman on the sidelines. We'll hit pause on the panic on the Falcons' offensive struggles for right now anyway.
We got a lot to work on. I'm encouraged by, their youth and speed and everything, but I didn't think we played as well as we can. So that's to be expected sometimes in your first game. But more than that, I don't like the sloppiness. I don't like the penalties. We can be better at the ball and going after. So those are two of the things at the top of the list going into the game that I thought we missed our mark.
All right, fellas, like I said, meaningless preseason game one. What do we actually take out of this game, though?
Nobody got hurt. That's all that matters. That's really the bottom line of any preseason game, is that you come out of it healthy. Everything else is negotiable. Everything else can be fixed. Everything else can be changed. There is nothing to quantify from a game where you don't game plan, you don't strategize, you just put guys out there on the field, whoever's available, and you call a random play to see what works. The idea that we're questioning Steve Sarkisian because of only 26 yards in the first quarter is utterly laughable. They're picking random plays off a play sheet with no rhyme or reason to figure this thing out. We're going to judge as if they had 100 yards after the first quarter. We'd be sitting here going, oh, well, Steve Sarkisian clearly has picked it up to another notch. It's ridiculous. Nobody got hurt. That's all that matters.
Well, George, do you think this is a season, though, where Sarkisian does kind of need to figure things out and feel things out in the preseason? Do we need to be holding the Falcons to a higher standard, even though it's only the first game of the preseason?
Well, I think he does have to prove himself some. He's in a hot seat of sorts, but judging out the first preseason game, you can't put too much into it. You're trying to see what your young guys can do, see them run around and hit, and see who actually has the pedigree to play in the NFL. You're not game planning, and you're not showing your hand to the whole league in week one of preseason.
Jason, you were up there at MetLife covering your first Falcons preseason game as Falcons beat writer for The Athletic. What do you take away from the matchup?
Absolutely nothing. It's kind of like what Mark was saying. It's a preseason game. They're just trying to figure out what's going to work well with their depth. They're just building it from that standpoint. They're looking at guys, second, third teamers, who's going to make the 53-man roster. It's the first chance to get that perspective, and therefore I just can't take a whole lot from that.
So coming up next, the Chiefs at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What are you guys looking forward to between right now and the end of that preseason game?
I'll say it again. Nobody gets hurt. Let's just make sure that doesn't happen.
There's a theme here.
Because that's the only thing that really matters. Look, you've already seen it in Washington. Darius Geis in a preseason game blew out his knee, and he's done for the year before he even got a carry in anger in the NFL. I mean, from that standpoint, that's all that matters. The last thing you want is for anybody of any sort of consequence to be injured for the season when this situation happens. Get through them healthy. Everything else will be fixed by game one.
I think there's a fine line. You don't want to get to the first game, get to the opener, and lay an egg. So you want to know what you got. You can't exactly get that feeling from practice. So maybe the next game, definitely by the third game, you want to see everybody on the field. Get them a series. Get them a series or two and see what they can do, and then you sit them down.
You don't know what you got with Julio, Matt, and Devontae, but don't we know what we have already?
You know what you got,
okay,
but they realized their potential last year. I don't think they realized their potential last year. I think they got to keep going and take steps.
The only thing I'll add is that this team needs to get a first down. They had zero first downs
those
in the
are
first
important.
half.
Yeah.
And just to give the fans maybe some confidence that this team is heading in the right direction. I think a lot of people do think that. I do think a lot of preseason games, really the first, second, and fourth, are meaningless from a fan and entertainment standpoint. But get a first down, and things will be maybe a lot better from that angle.
Yeah, because those are pro football players, whether they're second, third team.
Sure.
You want them to be some type of productive.
The optics I get, and it's better to play well than it is to play poorly. I'm not debating that, but in the grand scheme of things, you could go 0-4 in the preseason. The Browns went 4-0 in the preseason last year and lost every single regular season game. What does it really matter? None.
Unironically or not, saw more than a few fire Sarks on Twitter, but we'll leave that for another week. All right, guys, we're less than 3 weeks away from the college football season. Georgia getting ready to take on the Governors of Austin Peay, the game they have circled on the calendar. Now, the one thing that they are taking away from the scrimmage that was probably more challenging than that game against Austin Peay. Yeah, I'll say it. Kirby Smart, he wants to see his Bulldogs take off this season, and he's not scared to compare his team to a superhero.
Biggest thing we've preached to these guys is that the whole pressure is privilege. I mean, it is a privilege. I mean, it's not Superman's fault if he can fly and he doesn't take advantage of it. My whole point is you have an advantage. Your advantage is you're a really good player. Use all your skill set. So if Superman can fly, I say fly.
All right, guys, coming off that national championship season, the runners up to Alabama, of course. Kirby talking about trying to get the most out of his personnel. What do you make of that quote that he had right there, comparing his team to Superman? We're not used to hearing this in years past from Georgia coaches. They try to hedge their bets a little bit. Kirby, he's not scared, man.
Well, first of all, he has some great personnel. So I get where he's coming from. You don't want to underperform with a group that you have. You've been getting 4 or 5-star after 5-star the last couple of years, and you want them to be what they are. You want to know that your evaluation of those players was what you thought they were. And so there are high expectations. You went to the national championship last year, so the only way to go is down, and you don't want to do that. So you want to take the next step and win the whole thing, and everybody has to do their job, because it's not because of talent that if they won't win it, it's because of the little things.
Sure, another superhero-esque player that they just got cleared by the NCAA, former 5-star wide receiver, #1 wide receiver in the country coming out of high school, Demetrius Robertson. The NCAA said, hey, he is good to go coming out of Cal. Jason, looking at that guy, the media that had picked Alabama to win the SEC at SEC Media Days a few weeks ago, do they need to get a recount? Do they need to get a second vote and maybe reconsider Georgia after that one edition?
I don't think so. And at my previous job at the Telegraph, I was at SEC Media Days, and I picked Georgia to win the SEC. But at the same time, one player doesn't make a champion. And I think those that voted for Alabama, they voted for Alabama because they're going to have a strong defense, they're going to have a good offense, they're going to be great on special teams. It's what they do every year. Until somebody beats Alabama, I see why somebody's going to take Alabama. I do think that Georgia, with Demetrius Robertson, becomes an even more explosive team. At the same time, this is going to be a very run-first, run-heavy team with those running backs, with that offensive line. But I think with Jake Fromm going into year 2, and now that he's got Demetrius Robertson at his disposal, with Terry Godwin and just in the tight ends that they have, I feel like this team has a lot more that they can maybe offer as a balanced unit than last year when they were leaning so much on the run game.
For the record, I picked Georgia at SEC Media Days, just so everybody's clear on that. But I do think, really, after you get past Game 1 in Austin Peay, really you're looking at Game 2 against South Carolina. That's the biggest litmus test that they'll probably have all year long, given everything that's on the line. You know, South Carolina's always given them fists, especially there in Columbia. And look, if they can come through that game clean and win it with some measure of clear and of just be better than South Carolina, I feel really good about what's going to be ahead for them for the rest of the year. If they struggle in that game, you become the Hunt did all season long after last year. They may struggle in other games going forward.
All right, guys, let's get on to 15 and 15. We have 15 questions. You have 15 seconds to answer each one. Zeno, we will start with you. Cam Newton confronting Kelvin Benjamin before the preseason game between the Bills and the Panthers. Benjamin questioning Cam Newton and as his former teammate. What did you make of this whole interaction between Cam and Kelvin? Is this becoming of an NFL quarterback?
Well, that's the real question. I mean, it's just the optics of it for my NFL quarterback is what I really question. I don't have a problem with him addressing into it man-to-man. I don't have a problem with him wanting to get clarification from a guy, but you know, a lot of times players like to let their play do the talking. It didn't really need to be done. I think it's because Cam's got some rabbit ears that he really wanted it done that way. And the fact of the matter is that it could have been handled behind closed doors.
Cam understands optics, too. That is no accident that he was out there in front of all the cameras and having that conversation. George, Roquan Smith's holdout with the Bears continues from a player standpoint. Do you understand why this is still going on? And do you respect why Roquan is still digging in against the Bears?
I understand. You have new rules. It's a new age. This is not something that anyone else has had to deal with before with the new DeLorean helmet rules. And he wants to make sure that he's protected. Like he's an asset. And he's going to be gaining some assets with his paycheck. You want all of that protected. So I understand his side, and I understand the Bears side wanting him in there. But both sides have to look out for themselves, and that's what's going on right now. And I understand it, especially from a player perspective.
Jason, another former Georgia player, Nick Chubb, in his preseason game for the Browns. I know we don't want to make too much of the preseason games, Zeno. That's why I gave this question to Jason. 11 carries or 11 yards on 15 carries. What's his ceiling for the Browns this season?
You know, they paid Carlos Hyde a lot of money, so I think the one thing that Nick Chubb has going for him this year is the fact that he has Hyde and he's got Duke Johnson there in Cleveland to kind of do their own thing until he gets really comfortable with this offense. The one thing that I will say about Nick Chubb, he's got to become a pass-catching back, or at least more of a pass-catching back if he's going to be successful in the NFL.
Zeno, the Ohio State investigation into Urban Meyer just continues to get more interesting, more twists and turns by the day. What sticks out to you the most about this investigation right now?
Well, we got 5 days left until we hit that 14-day window that Ohio State told me this whole thing was going to be wrapped up in. I honestly believe that he's still going to keep his job. I think there's a long suspension, possibly the entire season, that'll be suspended for. But ironically, throughout this whole investigation portion, Ohio State has yet to talk to Courtney Smith or Zach Smith. So, you know, those are key players you probably want to interview during this whole process.
How about that? And reports that were denied by Tom Herman yesterday that he was the whistleblower, and it's just crazy. There's so much going on with this thing, and like you said, there's a timeline which in and of itself is absurd. George, the NCAA will allow basketball players to seek out agents if they want to go test the NBA draft waters and don't make it. They can return to school. There's no guarantee that there'll be a spot at their former school, but do you see a ripple effect from the NCAA's decision to allow this in basketball, potentially carrying over to football?
I think this is going to be a natural progression. You know, somebody's going to at least try it and test the waters to see if it works, to see what they can do with that designation. So I don't know how it's going to happen. It seems like it's definitely a surprise. I never expected anything of this magnitude to happen with the rules in the NCAA. So you got to stay tuned and see what happens. I have no idea how this is going to go.
Yeah, Jason, Georgia Tech backup quarterback Lucas Johnson got injured in practice. The thing that I want to get to, though, Georgia Tech quarterbacks can get tackled in practice, and you don't see that too often. I don't know if the injury happened during a live session or not, but the fact of the matter is they're allowed to get hit. Is it time to revisit that?
Yeah, and here's my thing. We don't know if he got injured during a live drill, but I don't know of a college program in the country that has their quarterbacks tackled live. I think everybody outside of Paul Johnson has come to the conclusion it's a bad idea for your quarterbacks to be tackled live, and it would be wise if he would prevent his quarterbacks from injury by not having them be tackled live.
Yeah, Zeno.
Goes back to that whole preseason thing about not getting hurt. Yeah, that's part of it too.
It's so important, though. It's so important. Zeno Tuki Tucson has been dominant in AA and AAA. Braves bringing him up, probably making the start. But how tempting is it to make this guy a bullpen pitcher with all the struggles that the Braves have had this season?
Well, the temptation for me is let him come up, make a couple of starts, and if he's really good, you might want to send that Tehran guy to the bullpen, who hasn't been that good as of late. So that could be an option. But look, any sort of injection you can get in your pitching staff at this point in the season is needed, whether it's in the bullpen or in the starter role. So the quicker they can get him up here, the better.
George, the MLB Players Weekend is pretty neat. The players get to pick what their names are on the back of their jerseys. Another player question for you. If you could pick the nickname on the back of your jersey, what would you have had?
I don't know. I have to go with probably the nicknames I got in college, which is pretty simple. Big Faust is one of them.
Yeah.
It's short for Foster. And some of my friends call me Big Fizzle. I can't remember how that came about, but Big Fizzle. I think I'll go with Fizzle.
I like the Fizzle.
Big Fizzle.
I like the
I like it.
Big Fizzle or Fizz. They different variations.
It does have a nice ring to it, for sure.
I don't want to know what Jason's is, by the way.
I don't know. I think Jason might want to change his, but
You might want to change yours permanently.
You don't want to know the jokes I got.
Yeah.
you made it through, though.
I made it through.
You made it here.
Life as well.
That's right. A fellow Jason Worth, says that there are a bunch of nerds ruining baseball with sabermetrics. This guy seems like Clint Eastwood. He's telling people to get off his lawn. Does he have a point, though?
The only point he has is the fact that there is some of the fun, suicide squeeze, hit and runs. You don't see those in baseball as much because the numbers show that they're not going to execute as much. That said, if you have numbers, if you have numbers pointing to areas where you should and shouldn't do things in sports, then you have evidence and you should adhere to the evidence.
Yeah.
The other part is those numbers told the Phillies to get rid of him and the Nationals to get rid of him because they didn't fit his profile.
That's why he doesn't like the nerds.
Yeah, that's why.
Zeno, the Hawks home opener will be on ESPN. This is a team that people do not expect to play very well this season. Can Trae Young carry the show like ESPN thinks that he might?
Well, let's hope so, right? I mean, he's going to be one of the main attractions for this team into the regular season and during the regular season to go and watch and see how he does. If he can start picking up and get on fire and become like a guy who's considered for Rookie of the Year, maybe they'll get some more primetime games, but he really is the main draw that everybody's heading to Phillips Arena to see. He's got a lot of talking at this point. Let's see if he can back it up.
George, the Hawks gave Carmelo Anthony a jersey, even though he didn't play a single game for the organization.
I want one.
As of right now, I have not seen Carmelo publicly thank the Hawks on Twitter, though. You think they need to get that thing back if he's not going to appreciate it?
I think he should get his jersey. He should keep the jersey, and he should tell them thank you. Like that's a cool novelty to have right there. It's kind of like the Rasheed Wallace one-game jersey. I wish I had that jersey.
Brett Favre Falcons jersey.
I mean,
oh my
look,
goodness.
did they open up against the Knicks at the Garden? How cool would it be to wear that jersey at the Garden?
That'd be
He used
great.
to play for the Knicks, never played for the Hawks. Be the only guy rooting for Carmelo Anthony in the building.
Have it as an undershirt,
That'd
maybe?
be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I want one.
Jason, Wheeler alum Jaylen Brown plays for the Celtics. He says there's no question the Celtics will be in the NBA Finals. Is it that simple with LeBron gone, and do you like the guarantee in August?
I love the guarantee. I like it when athletes are honest and are themselves and they don't speak in cliches. So I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to predict. I'm not going to say he's dead on with this, but the fact is they didn't have Kyrie Irving for the playoffs. They didn't have Gordon Hayward after the first game. This is a team that should be the favorite to win the East.
Zeno, take a deep breath, man. This next question is very personal to you. The NFL claims its first male dancers will hit the sidelines this season. I know you have a problem with that claim. Can you set the record straight for us?
Yeah, those guys who are cheerleaders for the Los Angeles Rams are not the first cheerleaders in the NFL. You see that dude right there? Yeah, we were one of them with the Baltimore Ravens. We were the first male cheerleaders in the NFL.
Look at that.
If you'd like to sit there and call them,
Look at
dear
that.
Lord.
Oh, man.
If you'd like to sit there and call them dancers, the first dancers, well, I can debate that too because, well, you know what kind of cheerleaders as guys? Yeah, we have to dance sometimes too.
Bring that
we've
hair
done it
back,
all.
by the way.
The hair was
God, please send the hair back.
prayers offered up on Sports Extra today. George, the Corky Kell Classic. Shameless plug. It is going to be on our sister station, the ATL, this week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from Rome, Georgia State Stadium, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Tune in. George, what is your favorite high school football memory?
Probably not losing like we used to my first couple of years.
Look at that
and
kid.
Then,
You were still
look at
bigger
that
than you
young
then.
guy. Look at that young fella.
We're number 89,
He
tight end.
looks pretty nice. I guess winning the city championship my senior year was great because we came a long way. We never won a lot of games in high school, and to finally get to where we won some, that was great, man. It was nice. I actually cried my last game.
Oh,
So
man.
it was
Some
nice.
emotion.
Big Foss shedding some tears.
Oh man,
Big
That's
Fizz.
tough to do.
Jason, will Brooks Koepka earn the respect that he may deserve now that he's won his third major?
He should, but will he? I don't know. There are so many more big names that command more media attention for whatever reason, but this is a guy who, like you said, he's got 3 majors now. He's number 4 in the world. He's got more majors than Justin Thomas. He's got more majors than Dustin Johnson. He's one behind Jordan Spieth. Yeah, he should get more respect.
All right, guys. Coming up next on Sports Extra, catching up with the first-time Cup winner, Chase Elliott.